What I'm going to talk about here is kind of from a street gazetteer perspective. For those that are on the call, I think we're used to maybe just submitting a street gazetteer to keep the roadworks commissioner happy or Roger happy. But hopefully this will show what we've kind of used our street gazetteer for within Falkirk Council. So why bother actually doing anything with the gazetteer at all? One of the main recommendations within the well-managed highway infrastructure code of practice, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is developing a functional hierarchy. So in very simple terms, it says, if you don't have enough money, how do you know where to allocate the money to? And how we started going about this was, and I say we, this was prior to myself actually being a Falkirk Council employee in 2009. I can't even really remember what I would have been doing at that point, probably back at uni. But you can see here, basically, big maps were printed off, and it was quite literally a case of getting felt tip pens and saying, these roads here are local access roads, these roads here are link roads, strategic routes, main distributors, etc., etc. And the same was done for footways as well. And then these maps were just pinned up in the office, and they were referenced by roads maintenance engineers. What we've then done since then was on our GIS system, and that this ties to our kind of USRNs and all the street data that we have, is we digitized all of this information and tied it to our list of public roads. You might be able to see from this screenshot, you can see here that there is a hierarchy associated with an element down here at the bottom. I think I've got further slides along. You can see here that the USRN's there, tells us that it's a carriageway, the hierarchy is there, a description of the street, the town, list of roads references, the number of lanes, speed limits, whether or not it's urban, rural, and the actual length of the road as well. And yeah, that's kind of more developed here as well. So this is the sort of information that we hold for carriageways and footways. We have accurate lengths and widths, urban rural splits, speed limit details, master centre line data. Each polygon's clearly referenced and labelled, and each ESU and USRN has its hierarchy referenced. And what does this actually mean? Those that are on this call that maybe have a kind of road maintenance responsibilities within our local authority will know that we routinely survey our roads, and dependent on the hierarchy that's being categorised is how frequently the road gets surveyed. So you can see here that your strategic routes and your main distributors and your secondary distributors get surveyed every month, your link roads every 3 months, and your local access every 12 months. Previously we were having, or there were issues in the past, trying to actually get inspectors to go out and do that in terms of, it's all paper based. But what we've done was, and I apologise, this is an old slide, we've actually moved away from the system, but the principles are the same. All of our ESU data, or USRN data, is contained within a mapping system on a mobile tablet. And within here, dependent on the hierarchy of the road, those are the ESUs that appear on the screen. So the inspector knows that those are the ones that they need to travel along. When they travel along them, if they encounter a defect, they can just record this electronically, and it ties all that information to that USRN, and then that then goes into our asset management system. Okay. Again, what else do we use it for? We actually use it to develop our maintenance program as well. Like I said, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's something along the lines of we need something like £16 million a year just to maintain steady state. We don't get anywhere near enough that money. We have councillors and elected members that are shouting out, and customers shouting out for the roads to be resurfaced. However, using this hierarchy approach kind of gives us a way of saying, this is how we prioritise works to be done. And when we develop our works programme, we use the hierarchy and give it a weighting, and that rating then is used as a kind of multiplier You can see here on this screenshot, and this dates back to 2018-19, but it gives an indication as to where certain schemes are and where they rank, and then the actual hierarchy rating can then maybe boost a road up, or it can move it back down based on its kind of overall importance in our network as a whole. Again, it's something that we're developing at the moment with our asset management provider, who are WDM. Some of you might be familiar with kind of pavement management systems and all the different types of information that comes in with that. Again, we're just wanting to use our hierarchy information and the information that we hold in their gazetteer to kind of further enhance this and make sure that the money that we're actually spending is going to the roads that need maintenance undertaken on them in very short terms. Again, another reason why we do it is we actually base our treatment options, i.e., are you going to resurface it with an overlay or an inlay, surface dressing, dependent on the type of hierarchy that's associated with the road as well as. So, I'm not going to go into great detail with these types of ones, but that just gives an indication. I should have actually said I'll share these slides at the end as well with Rog, so he can upload them to a K-Hub or potentially within the improvement service circles. We even got to the stage using our hierarchy. Our winter maintenance, we were treating every road that you could ever possibly imagine that didn't need to be treated, to be perfectly honest with you. And we used our hierarchies to actually kind of rationalize the way in which we undertake winter maintenance treatment. So you can see there in 2017-18, we treated 365 kilometres of carriageway on what was a P1 route. And using our strategic main and secondary distributors as being the kind of main base. Don't get me wrong, there are little alterations in there, depending on the gradient of the road, etc. Accident spots or known drainage issues. When we actually took everything else into account, that dropped it down to 286 kilometres. And you know yourself, if you are reducing the amount of kilometres that you're treating, there is ultimately a saving there as well.